You should be able to record.
Okay, sorry.
Everybody on, we can start, right?
Yep, everybody's been admitted that was in the waiting room.
Okay, I'm in, we come out of executive session. Anybody want a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Rich Wenner, you want to give a recap or you want me to just do it? I don't know if he's on. Is he on?
Yep.
He's on. Yeah, Rich.
All right, sure. We're in executive session for approximately 55 minutes, during which time we discussed two matters. The first was a contractual matter relating to affordable housing. The second matter was contractual, also relating to negotiations with the PDA. No action was taken during executive session.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Okay,
You're
for a
welcome.
motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for May 21st, 2020. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody second?
Second.
Anybody want to second? Okay. Anybody have any
Second.
questions or anything about the minutes? Any corrections? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Mrs. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Crone?
Anybody have anything on the June bill list they would like to have pulled?
Hey, Bob,
Bob,
can we do the Eagle Scout? I know it's not on the agenda.
If you're ready, I can hold all. Yeah, is he on, ready to go?
Yeah, he's on mute. John's there, and I'll introduce him. So Frank, if you can,
Okay, go ahead, Brad. Sure, go ahead. So we're getting.
what do you want me to unmute, Brad?
John Murdoch.
Okay.
Hello there.
Hey, John. So I'll just set it up, and then John, you can give your spiel.
That's fine.
So John approached me about proposing a Eagle Scout project to build picnic tables for our new pavilion at Thomas Stewart Park. So tonight he's joined us to provide some details related to that. And in addition, he did share his plans, the table plans, the design, which I emailed to everybody, the town committee. I emailed it to Mike Finelli and also to Joe Mexi so that you guys could see a design layout. So with that, I'm going to pass it to you, John. You can go into a little more detail.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor Rossoni. Thank you, Mr. Bean, Mr. Marchetta, as well as Mr. Perone, who introduced me, and Mrs. McDermott. I'm here to better our community. And ever since the pavilion in Thomas Stewart Park was constructed, I have to admit it's been a fine construction for our residents. And I honestly think it's a great idea to build overall. However, it's also been as empty as a hungry stomach, because although it's there, we need to actually fill it to give it use to our residents. And that's why I've dedicated my Eagle Scout project to filling that empty pavilion with 12 handmade wooden tables as my Eagle project. But to do that, I'll need your support, because for an Eagle project, what an Eagle Scout needs in order to go through is to have the approval of the beneficiary, which is the Greenwich Township Council, to approve it. Because without an approval, it's basically just saying, hey, we're doing this, but we don't have any authorization to do so. And that can just be done in the form of a signature, but because I am going to the town committee, I presume it will need an official approval. And when you sign off, what you'll do is you allow me to organize and lead the construction of these tables, which will be purchased, then shipped to my backyard shed, will be temporarily held, then cut to measurements and stained with polyurethane so it can last through the weather and for quite a while so it doesn't just break down instantly. And then I will work with fellow scouts and fellow leaders and adults to assemble it and put together with screws, nuts, and bolts. And if you would like me to share my screen to show you the actual blueprints themselves, I'd be happy to do so.
Sure, go ahead, John.
All right.
Let me see if I can grant him access to share.
Thank you.
It doesn't allow individual share, and I don't think we're going to allow you to share because they would give everybody access to share their screen.
I understand.
Who has
Let
control
me
of the,
just, let me just take a double check.
who's got control of the
Yeah.
screen?
What's that?
I say, who has control of the
I'd
screen?
have to. What do you mean who has control of the screen? The host.
Meaning like, so you could open it up from the email.
Oh, if you want me to, I can
John,
share it.
would
Yeah.
you?
Yeah,
All right, let me see if I can pull it
that's
up.
fine.
Share it. Yeah, you
You
could.
send it to me, right?
Yeah.
My alternative was to just basically put it onto a shareable Google Drive link and just put the link in the chat.
No, I can share the screen. What I'll do is, I'll take the document Brad sent me and I'll share it.
Yeah, there's
Alright.
2 attached. You want the one that is.
I'm fine. The Eagle Scout book is mainly just logistic stuff. The only thing that's really needed is for signature on the final page. So I think the more optimal document show is the actual blueprints themselves, which is under the bench PDF, aptly named.
Give me 1 second.
So,
You can continue talking if you want while
yeah,
I'm
so
trying to
while
pull it
he's
up.
opening that up, John,
I can continue.
what materials do you plan on using?
Sorry.
What type of materials do you plan on using?
Basically, the main plan is based around pressure treated wood because it'll hold together and it's fairly sturdy, so it'll last while being not overly expensive, so it's still reasonable. And this project is really good economically because I spent a solid 3 hours searching for all the tables, which are 10 foot by 5 foot wooden with built-in benches, and the lowest cost I could find per bench was around $800. That times 12 is around $9,600. So by approving this project, the town will be saving a lot of money at that as well. So yeah, what we see on the screen is just a general blueprint of the table itself. It has multiple support beams in order so it doesn't just collapse. And because of how it's constructed, it's fairly simple to set up and put together. So that's why I thought it was optimal when I was searching through different options to actually build this one. Also, because of its size, it can fit more people than others, which is really good for communal settings such as a park once quarantine from the COVID-19 has actually ended and we can actually resume daily life as normal.
I think there are 4 pages on this, Frank, if you go to the next page.
The next page is basically just is like the IKEA put together version.
See it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want this one or the bottom one? It shows it up right.
Either one works.
Yeah, that one.
That
Yeah, the one on the bottom probably works best
You
just
see
so
it?
you can see it right. Yeah.
That's a good picture.
Yep.
And overall, I really like this project. It has a clear benefit to the community. It gives tables for them so that everyone can sit and have a picnic like I used to when I was younger, and I think was a very formative beneficially to my actual growth as a young adult. And by actually constructing more benches so that people and children in Township Stewart Park can have that same experience of a pavilion, grill, barbecue, I think it's an essential part of, I'd say, Greenwich youth life. And the only problem that I have with this project is time. Because right now I'm 17, but I'm turning 18 on June 27th, which is about 9 days. And I will be getting an extension for that as soon as you guys approve it so that I can continue doing this project till August. But the biggest barrier for that is funds. Because right now, the actual cost of lumber itself, which is the bulk of what it will take to actually be able to build it, is around $2,100. Still far less than buying all the tables yourself, but it's still a good chunk of money. And although I want to get everything prepared and built as fast as possible, fundraising will always be a significant barrier in the actual construction of these benches in a timely manner, so that before I go to Virginia for college, I will be able to get this done. And in order to lessen the toll that fundraising will have on the construction of these benches, I asked the committee to allocate some of its funds that were reserved last year in the Recreation or Land Use Administration Planning Board budget that was reserved and be used to purchase some lumber in order to ease that burden. However, that is just an additional request, and if that is denied, I am fine with that as well. However, I do ask for your support first and foremost. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate
Brad,
it.
I'll give you the honor to make any motions you want to make.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any discussion, if there's any questions anybody has. John, the one piece also is that the intent was to make 12 of these.
Yes,
So
12 handmade wooden tables with benches included that would be handmade, polyurethane stained, and put together pressure treated wood.
Yeah, so 12 tables, I think would be probably pretty nice amount for that pavilion spread around.
Yeah.
They're 10 by 5, 10 in length, 5 foot wide.
Yeah, I believe we went over this, but just so everyone on this call knows, Mr. Pro and I talked about what would be a fair amount, and we agree that 12 would be a good amount to see everyone because it'll see at most around 96 people, which is good enough for the capacity that the pavilion should optimally hold.
Right. So, John, I think the only, and knowing that you've got a couple restraints, right? You have raising, you have a time constraint, and with college. So if for any reason, getting to 12 is an issue, I think, as a committee, we have to understand or what we think would be a minimum amount, right? So
yeah,
I don't know what the council, meaning the Boy Scout Council, is going to require of you to build in order for it to satisfy the Eagle requirement.
I'd say they're gonna ask for at least 8. That would be my bottom line, just so it doesn't feel like, oh yeah, I built one table, that's a project, because it's not big enough to warrant an Eagle project.
Yeah,
I'd say 8 is a significant impact at the bare minimum, but I want to build 12 because that makes sense for the size of the pavilion that's already there.
Yeah, and I think 8 is the same kind of minimum I think we would want as well. So, I don't have anything else to add. I'm just looking to authorize John to move ahead with this. If everyone's okay, Bob, you would have to sign the forms for him. The only other thing I throw out there is, my engineer, if you had any questions on the plans when you looked at it, I being in the construction, so I don't have many questions. So
I think John came very well prepared and did a great presentation tonight, John. And if that's in the form of a motion, Brad, I'll second it. Is that what you're making a motion to approve this
Do we have a
project?
couple of questions before we go too far?
Well, yeah, but usually you have discussion after the motion.
Right,
But go ahead.
okay.
So
Go ahead, Paul.
I'll make the motion to authorize John Murdoch to proceed with Eagle Scout project to build 12, between 8 and 12 wooden tables as in accordance with the plan submitted to the town.
Okay, I'll second and open for questions, comments, and discussion. Paul, go ahead.
John, a couple of quick questions. What did you use as a platform for this table, the design? Is this a standard table that's found size-wise, in the way of picnic tables and such? I'm just questioning, the top seems to be a little narrow to me.
The top, I believe, is 2 by 8. So 3 of them combined would be around 24, which would be about 2 feet.
Right,
Minimum.
it was 2 by 10s, so it would be 2
2 by
foot
10s would be like the actual seats.
your thing. So it's really like, 27, almost 28 inches. And I was just asking if that's a normal width of a picnic table. And my second question to that, I see you have the benches attached to that. Was there an option of not having benches attached to that?
The construction of these blueprints basically use benches as a form of support to the bench itself. So it works really well. If you see that bottom line in like the middle of it, it connects with the benches while simultaneously providing support for the legs of the table.
No, I do see that and I understand that. My input to the subject, and I'm not trying to do that, is for larger guys like myself. We can't fit in that.
If you know, Paul, you know, the problem is with the detached benches, Joe and his crew be going up every day to put them back underneath the.
Well, and I'm not, I was just kind of generally
Maybe all
asking.
over the car.
I understand your concern, but fortunately, because it is a 10-foot long table, usually that's mitigated by the fact that it's so long. That's usually okay. That like you get some decent leg room.
All right, that was the only question that I had.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Anybody else have anything? Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great job, John. Good luck
Thank
with
Thank
it
you,
all.
John.
okay?
Good job.
John,
Yeah, good luck, John.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thanks, John. Okay, anybody have any bills from the June bill list they want pulled? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to accept the treasury report and the June bill list.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any questions, comments, discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
And
We
Mr.
didn't
Peron?
get a tax collector, or sewer report because of the change in the position, the employees. So we don't really have anything approved there, I don't believe, right, Lisa?
Correct. We'll have a double one next month.
Looking for a motion, if everybody had a chance to review the police department, DPW, town clerk, and the court report. Looking for a motion to accept those reports for the month of May and June. Anybody have, anybody make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Anybody have any questions, comments, or discussion on any of these reports?
No.
Roll call?
Mayor
Wait,
Barsney?
I'm sorry. I have a question. I
Okay.
just, really quick, I guess really for Lisa and Joe, where do we stand with the documents? Or is everything out that should be out of the, at this point?
I don't know if everybody heard you, Brad. You were a little bit broken up.
Well, my question was, do we have everything out of the old school? Document-wise, that's the townships.
Brad, I'm not sure if Joe's back on. Oh, yeah, there he is.
Joe's, he's on, but
Joe,
there's no sound.
yeah, he's not muted. Joe, just wave your hand if you dialed in with your phone. Okay, let me
His
find your
phone's
phone.
muted.
Can you talk now, Joe? Try it.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. All the files, the town files are moved out. The storage container has all the building department stuff. The stuff that was in the center that we thought needed to be destroyed is in the back equipment building on in a bay. I've talked to Lisa about it. We're gonna get together and how she wants to start moving it in and proving and doing the forms for that to be done. So all that's left up there is the Historic Society went in, cleaned up their stuff. We threw away stuff while the cleanup dumpsters were there. Their stuff needs to be moved, which I'll help them. They have temporarily found location at the Lutheran church. The fire department went through where all them desks, tables, and chairs were, threw away what we didn't want. We got to find a location to store that stuff. And then the police department has a pallet or two of items down in the basement that I've been in touch with Chief Hummer to make what needs to be destroyed and stuff. A lot of cables and stuff from old equipment from police cars and a few other supplies. But document-wise, everything has been removed.
Thank you, Joe.
Is that it, Brad? You good?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Okay, next we're going to do the 2020 budget presentation, the second reading. Am I just prepared to open it for public hearing, or does anybody have a presentation to do first? Karen or John Mooney?
I do have a presentation prepared, so I would have to share my screen though.
I'm not gonna, I can't allow one person to share. That's the problem.
So I think if you
Anybody
make
else
me-
would be able to do it. I can make
I mean,
you the
I could
host.
just-
I can, yeah, let me do that. Let me
You can make me the co-host, I think.
Yeah, I'll make you co-host. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, since you're one of the town professionals, I could do that. 1 second.
Okay.
All right, how about now? Try now.
Okay. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yep.
Okay, let me try and get it to the full thing. So I just put together this presentation to kind of give a high level on where the budget breakdown is. So, so where our revenues fell, where our expenses fell, and then of course the tax impact. So without further ado, I'll get into this. So municipal budgeting. What is the municipal budget? It funds our daily operations. It controls the spending, meaning departments have to work within what their budget is given for the allotted year. It allocates your resources. There's two major categories for your expenses. So you have your salary and wages, and then you have your operating expenses. It also reflects the priorities of the governing body. This just gives you an overview of the tax levy breakdown. So our local tax is only considered 17% of your entire tax bill. The other pieces of it, you have 1%, which is open space, and your largest piece is your largest, the local school district, which is 56% of your tax bill. And then the next largest piece is your county tax, the taxes that we pay to Warren County.
Yeah, can you go back to that screen?
Sure.
I mean, this is an important screen because a lot of people, they get confused with, you know, they think the town controls a lot of their increase. And I think it's important that people see that it's only 17% of your total tax. So I think this is great. I never saw a visual like this. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So budget revenues, what makes up our budget revenues for Greenwich Township? These are the different categories. First and foremost is the fund balance. The way we generate fund balance is either through excess revenues or lapsing prior year appropriations, meaning appropriations or expenses from the prior year that were never spent. And then we always utilize a portion of that to avoid a portion of that in the budget to avoid tax spikes, any revenue shortfalls, or any unexpected expenses. Also, revenues in the budget, we have local revenues. In Greenwich Township, this is made up of your municipal court fines, interest on investments, and your interest on taxes. Then, of course, we have our state aid, which is your energy receipts tax. So again, this is the municipal property tax relief program that's through the state, which I know we've discussed in previous meetings that this may be a real concern for us this year. Making sure that the state can make those state aid payments to us. Grants always come in through revenues. Of course, there's always an offsetting matching expense. And then we also have other special items. For Greenwich Township specifically, some sewer surplus, some reserve for debt service, and there's also some other things that can sometimes be in there that are offsetting. Then we also have receipts for delinquent taxes. So these are all your prior year taxes that are paid in your current year. So for 2020, those would be all your 2019 taxes that get paid in 2020. And then of course you have your amount to be raised, which is the municipal portion of the taxes, that 17% that we saw in the prior slide. And that portion of the taxes is what we need to function as a government. And you always have to remember, you can never anticipate more than you realized in the prior year. So to go into how this breaks down into numbers, this is comparing 2019 anticipated to 2020 anticipated, and then of course what was realized. So if you take a look at this, Fund balance, you'll see in 2019, we anticipated a lot more fund balance than we plan to anticipate in 2020. A large part of this is for Greenwich, a portion of the fund balance was always the deferred school tax. And I think we're trying to get away from this year. So we're going to be anticipating less, but you'll see we're going to have some offsetting expenses that have dropped off so that we're able to do this. So again, you'll see this large amount, but again, that has to do with trying to get away from the deferred school tax. Your local revenues, again, this was your core interest on investments and interest on taxes. You can see in 2019, you anticipated 140,000, but we only realized 102,000. So again, we can't anticipate any more than we realized in the prior year. So this year, we're going to have a little bit of a shortfall there, and we can only anticipate 91,000. State aid is going to remain flat this year, so we're hoping that we will be able to get the 315,000 from the state. And then we have some other special items. That number's up because we're actually going to be bringing some money from open space that should have been brought in 2019. So it's kind of just almost accounting thing. Delinquent taxes, again, these are the taxes from 2019 that have not been paid. We're expecting to collect around 353,000, so that'll be $8,000 more than last year. And then your amount to be raised, and this has a direct tax impact. We're looking to raise about 156,000 more than we had in 2019. So again, in revenues, they're actually going to be down about 5% from the prior year. So if anyone has any questions, I'll move on. So this is going to show you a little bit of the budget breakdown when it comes to our expenses and the major categories that we take a look at. So our largest budget expense are salary and wages. So that's what we pay to the police department and all town hall employees, including DPW. Our next large expense is our operating expenses. That's what we need to, that's what we use to pay for our daily operations, our day-to-day activities. The next one would be your debt service. So again, these are your bonds and your bond anticipation notes. And then after that comes your statutory expenditures. This would be your pension and Social Security. After that is your reserve for uncollected taxes. So this is the portion in your budget that we have to raise because we don't collect 100% of taxes. We still have to give 100% to the county and the schools. So this reserve for uncollected taxes helps us breach that percentage that we don't collect so that we're still able to fund our daily operations. Next would be insurance. This is your group health insurance, dental insurance, and your workers' compensation and liability. And then lastly, I think I see here would be utilities. So again, that's your electricity, heating, gas, and all of that. So I'll go into each one to break them down a little bit farther. Well, this is I'm sorry, just to go back, here are the numbers that coincide with that pie chart. So for statutory expenditures, you'll see just to go down how much we're changing between 2019 and 2020. So statutory expenditures are actually up by $78,000. This is a piece of our budget that we have no control over. And the big piece of this $78,000, which was a huge budget driver for us this year, was a pension bill for our police department. Next would be insurance. That's going up about $18,000. Again, that's some of that has to do with increases that we have with the insurance fund that we're part of, PACE, which does the workers' compensation, the liability, but also we are looking to hire potentially a new DPW worker. So we wanted to budget a little bit more money for potentially his health insurance. Utilities, we're going to be keeping flat this year. Now, debt service, this is actually where we are going to be offsetting that fund balance piece. You'll see that debt service is going down by $637,000. A big piece of that is the capital improvement fund. So last year, we used deferred school tax to be able to fund our road projects. This year, we're going to try and get away from the capital deferred school tax, and we're looking to fund the projects through debt, which you'll see we have an ordinance that we will be adopting later to be able to pay for that road program. This way we can get a little bit away from that, and we were able to drop down the capital improvement fund line that we raise in the budget. Next would be your salary and wages. That's up about $124,000. And then all our other expenses are down about $52,000. And the biggest chunk of all of the other expenses that's going down is we took a close look at the legal fees that we budgeted for last year versus what we need to budget for this year. So we were able to bring that number down. And then there was a few other things. And then reserve for uncollected taxes, we're keeping about level. So you'll see our actual total budget, excluding grants for operating expenses, is actually down 9% from the previous year. So again, part of that's to help offset the drop in revenues. Okay, just to go into each one so everyone can see what makes up these larger categories, we have our utilities. So this is made up of electricity, street lighting, telephone, water, and gasoline. Like I had said before, we're looking to keep this level. I did, based on expenses, change some of the allocation, but I'm looking to keep the utilities at a level dollar amount. Here's our breakdown of our debt service and capital contributions. And again, this is where you're going to see the drop in capital improvement fund. So instead of using the deferred school tax, we'll take out the capital improvement fund that we were raising through taxes and be able to raise that through debt. So again, here's what we pay towards our bond principal. We pay $80,000 per year, and you can see our interest. Also, our BAN stands for Bond Anticipation Note. So this is the principal that we'll be paying down. John has come up with a really good debt plan that we're staying on track with this. So again, you'll see the percentage down. It's 51% down, but that again has to do with the capital improvement fund and deciding to pay for the road program through debt. All right, so statutory expenditures. So this is PERS, is all the town hall and DPW employees who are full-time. That is their pension system. PFRS is the police pension system. We got hit with a very large bill this year. This is a really, really big driver in our budget. So unfortunately, we're a price taker on this. There's not much we can do about this, but it is a bill that we do have to pay. So we had to budget for this year. Social Security, we're just raising it about $1,000 for that new DPW employee. And then DCRP, that's for our part-timers. It's a small pension system that we also contribute to. We're going to keep that level. So again, our statutory expenditures were up 20% this year, which is fairly significant. All right, next is our insurance. Again, it's workers' comp and general liability that we do through PACE. So there was a small increase there of around $3,200. And then group insurance, we're raising that about $15,000 for the new employee, DPW employee. If he does take insurance, we wanted to make sure that we budgeted enough in this line item for it. So again, that's a 5% increase over last year. Salary and wages, this is the breakdown of the salary and wages. So you have your police, that's the largest amount. Again, that's a lot of this is contractual, and we're also trying to budget enough for whatever contract gets settled. All other would include your DPW and all town hall employees. The net of all those employees was about 15,000. So again, this is about an 8% increase. So operating expenses, this is all other. Instead of going through each one, I tried to categorize them on a more of a higher level. So administration, that's basically your town hall, legal, land use, engineering, tax collection, assessment, finance clerk, all of that. So those expenses are actually going down about $39,000. Now we have our fire and first aid contributions. Those are the contributions that we actually give to the first aid and fire companies, as well as insurance that we pay on their behalf. And the reason it's going down, it has to do with the premiums on their insurance. Their contributions are remaining the same. Police is up just a little bit, about $1,200. And then DPW has basically remained level at $73. They're only going up. And Parks and Recreation is actually going down. This had to do with a larger discussion that we had on moving some of the expenses for lawn mowing into open space. And also the Parks and Recreation also includes some of your celebration of events. I think you have a special day that you guys have. So again, just general operating expenses are actually going down by 6%. So just your net valuation taxable, these are your home values. Your home values actually went down this year. I did speak with the assessor, and a lot of this had to do with some cleaning up. So they actually were down by $2.9 million. This has a direct impact on your taxes, meaning even going to this year, if you didn't raise a single dollar, you still would have had a slight tax increase. So the home values in 2020 are about $595 million, or in 2019, they're about $598 million. I did speak to her, and I think she thinks this will remain level. All right, and so last, to take a look, the 2020 tax municipal impact, what would be for the average $272,000 home? For the municipal tax levy, it's about $78.68.
Is anybody else having a hard, I'm hearing the echo from you, Karen.
Yeah, I'm too.
Yeah.
Can you
It
hear
went
me?
away.
Now, it
Yeah,
went
I don't
away.
know what that
Okay.
was. Yeah.
Okay, it's good.
Okay. So the 2020 tax impact, so on the average home, which is $272,000, that would be about $78.68 for the municipal levy. Open space, even though it's going down slightly, it really doesn't have much of a difference on your taxes. And then the rate is below, so we're going up about 2.8 cents. So that's all I have. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
So just for the average, do you have the average house and what they would be paying?
Yeah, 272,000. Yep.
Where's that on the screen?
So it's right here. Can you see my mouse?
Oh, on the top. Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, and then you have, so this is what the tax is, and then this is what the impact would be on the home. So $78.68.
So on the average home of $272,000, they would pay 78.68 in taxes. That's what
More than they usually do.
more than they usually do.
Yeah, that's the increase.
Yes.
I could tell you, I think I have it actually right here, what they actually would pay. So their actual payment for municipal taxes would be $1,554. So that's up $78 from the prior year.
Okay. So it's important that people see that.
You done, Karen?
All right, Bob, did you want to open it up now?
If Karen's done, Karen, you done?
Yep, I'm done.
Thank you, nice job. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to open the budget for a second reading for a public hearing. Are we going to make a motion to open for public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Frank, you can handle it from here. Anybody wants to come
Yeah,
on?
I'm gonna unmute everybody from the public. If you want to ask a question, just state your name and address, please. Bear with, there's a lot of people on today, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Jeff and Kim Leone here. We're in 1511 Megan Circle in Greenwich Chase. We had an issue that we reached out to Paul Beam on for a noise ordinance. I don't know if he has any further details on that.
The question is now we're only over the budget, sir. I'm sorry about that. This is
Oh,
only
that wasn't
Yeah, you can ask that question later in general
So,
public comment.
later we can do that, okay? We're right now, it's only on the budget itself. Anybody have any questions pertaining to the budget that was just presented?
There are some people that I'm unmuting, but they're staying on mute. I'm assuming they're doing that on their own. If for some reason you're not able to ask a question, you can send me something in the chat. I see Owen, I'm trying to unmute. I see Jackie Hill, I'm trying to unmute, won't unmute, and Michelle Stang, you won't unmute either. So just,
This is what I hate
For the
about
record.
this is one thing I hate about the Zoom meetings.
I mean, they may be doing it on their own, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I just hate that. I hate doing like the budget, everything on over this because you don't know if you're getting the appropriate participation, you know? I'm going to go with that no one has a question, so I'm looking for a motion, I guess, to close public comment.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Now we
right,
need-
I'm gonna put the public back on mute right now.
Now we need a motion to adopt the budget, correct? Now we're at,
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adopt the budget as presented.
Anybody want a second?
Second.
Oh,
Any other-
Bob, one second, I got. No, I had two chats, but they weren't related to the budget, so, all right, sorry.
Okay, so anybody have any further questions, comments, or discussion on the budget?
No.
Roll call.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Perone?
Yes, and I just want to add, express my thanks to both Karen and John Mooney for all the work in putting this together. I know this was a transition year. You know, we had our CFO leave at the end of last year. We had some temporary help in. We had delays, but we had issues with fund balance, but we got through it, and it wouldn't have happened without their work. And I especially want to thank Karen. You know, this is coming on and doing such a great job, and good, really great presentation. I think it was very helpful, and I'm sure the public appreciates it as well. So thank you.
yeah, can I add on to that? This is probably my 9th budget that I'm probably was involved in introducing. So Karen, I have to tell you, that was probably one of the best presentations I've ever seen in the town, so. Thank you very much, appreciate it. Can we get that, is that a PowerPoint that you used?
Yeah, I was gonna put it probably on the website.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, if we get that.
Yeah, I'll put that on the website with the adopted budget.
All right, great.
Thank you.
And as always, John, thank you for your hard work.
Yes, John, thank you also.
Thank you.
I agree. It was a difficult year for us again. We've had all difficult years, but you both helped us through it and helped us through it pretty well. So thank you. And it was an excellent presentation tonight, Karen. I think very informative for the public if anybody was watching.
Thank you.
Anything else? Ready to move on? Anybody have anything on the consent agenda pulled for resolutions from 4720 to 5420? I'm pulling 5520 myself for a little bit of discussion. So does anybody have anything there where they would like to have pulled? They're mostly housekeeping resolutions with like tax lien redemptions, the escrow refund, and things like that. It's nothing of, anybody want to pull them?
Yeah,
If
well,
not-
actually, Bob, the 5D 4920, the safe and secure grant.
Yes.
I saw that we were applying something for 30,000 and change, but there was a matching number of 98,000 and change.
Rich, are you on? Explain that.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hold on one second. Let me get to the
No, not Rich
resolution.
Winter, Rich Hummer. Is Rich Hummer
Oh.
on?
Yeah, he's here.
Rich, can you explain that grant to Paul?
He's not muted. It shows he's not muted. I don't know.
Rich
Maybe
Hummer.
you could text him.
You know what it might be? It probably is his the rest of his salary. So that only pays a portion of the salary. The matching portion would be the other piece of his salary.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I think it's reverse of what Paul's thinking. It's actually saving a 30,000 out of his salary, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I think he's trying to get 30,000 recouped for the administration of that grant. That sound right to you, Karen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, it's not actually, we already put up the 98 for his salary.
Yep.
He's just going to try to get reimbursed 30,000 of his salary for that grant for administrating it.
Got it. Okay. That was the first I saw it earlier today. So
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to look for a motion to adopt resolution 4720A for the tax lien redemption as it was amended. The 4820 escrow refund resolution, 4920 safe and secure grant, 5020 authorized emergency contract with Chapman for the sewer pumping station, 5120 authorization for bids for operation and maintenance of the township's wastewater collection system, 5220 for the auction agreement for the old school and the Washington Street project, 5320 for the Rick Line Road resurfacing, and 5420 for the Royal Grove road resurfacing. Anybody make a motion to adopt those resolutions?
I'll second that.
No, I'll make the motion.
Frank make the motion. Lily, your second.
Yes.
If anybody have other further questions, comments, roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Prone?
Yes.
5520 is the waiver of the interest and penalties from May 10th. Go ahead.
Sorry, John Mooney's wondering, do we need him any longer?
No, he's good, I think. Thanks, John.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
John.
John.
Okay, the resolution 5520 was the waive the interest and penalties on tax payments from May 10th through June 1st. The resolution is written, we could adopt it. The only thing I was wondering if do we want to change it? Some of those are literally like 75 cents or $1. And I think that money's been cashed and deposited. So Rich Wenner, would it be possible to change or add in that resolution that anyone who requested a refund? Because I haven't gotten a lot of requests for refund. I got a lot of statements in principle that he thought it was a bad thing to do during this pandemic, to charge the interest and the penalties. But we're going to return any uncashed checks. Some people paid $18, $20. They want their money back. Can we word that, Rich Wenner, to change the resolution to authorize the return of any funds at the requested by the homeowner rather than just everybody? Because it creates a lot of work for the tax collector, and it costs us probably more money to write the checks and cut the checks than what people are going to get back for 75 cents and $1.25 and stuff.
So is your question, Mayor, not cashing checks that were sent in, or is the question refunding monies that were paid for interest that you're now waiving?
Yeah. Well, they're gonna return the uncashed checks for the interest and penalties, and the rest of them, can we just say if people ask for it, she's authorized to give the refund? Because most of the complaints were about the principle of charging it, and I hear them, and I think everybody else in the committee heard them, but some of them only were charged interest like 75 cents. It costs us more to cut it. If they call and they really want their 75 cents back, we'll give it to them. But if they don't call or they don't send an email for it.
Yeah, you can word the resolution upon request by the taxpayer.
Okay, so I'll make the motion that we adopt resolution 5520 to waive interest and penalties upon request of the taxpayer for the period covering May 10 through June 1. Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Anybody have questions or comments with what I said or did there? Roll call.
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Mrs. McDermott?
Yes.
And Mr. Prone?
Yes.
Okay. Second reading of ordinance 107-2020 is the bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $844,000 for 2020 road improvements as discussed under the recent budget presentation. I'll make the motion that we open it for public hearing on that ordinance. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Frank, you want to open it up?
Yep. Now I'm muting. Give me 2 seconds.
Ice.
Bring it on, Frank.
Yeah, just for the record, Kim Lee Owen they're not unmute. Well, now they're unmuting. Okay, so they're good. Jackie Hill, I'm trying to unmute, will not unmute. Michelle Stang will not unmute. And Owen will not unmute. Everybody else should be okay.
Okay.
Michelle Stang is now unmuted, so it's
I'll
just.
make a motion to close the public hearing for the ordinance. Anybody want a second?
They just got unmuted. You may want to give a second or two. Does anybody have anything they want to say?
Is this open to everything now?
Not
No,
yet,
this is-
no.
Okay, just checking. I'm new to
Okay.
this.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion. We close the public hearing on the ordinance. Anybody want a second?
Second.
Second,
Favor? Aye.
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 Okay, looking for a motion to adopt ordinance number 107, 2020. Anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make that motion.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, no other comments, questions? Roll call?
Bob, before roll
Go
call,
ahead.
just for the record, for the public to understand, I know we said this last month, but the 844,000 is for the, and Karen, correct me here if I'm wrong, but it's for the total cost of the road project. Part of this total is funded from DOT grants that we're receiving from the state of New Jersey. So the town's not borrowing $844,000. It's borrowing significantly less than that because this is the total cost or cost estimate. Then you reduce that amount of the DOT grants, and the difference is what we're intending to borrow. So Karen, do you recall approximately how much, when you factor in the grants, what we would need to actually borrow?
Yeah, so we're looking to issue $421,800.
Okay, so it's like half. So I don't want the public to think we're borrowing $844,000. It's just that the way it has to be presented in ordinance is that it's for the full cost of the project. Half of it's going to be roughly received through DOT grants, and the other half would be bonded. So I just wanted to make that point very clear.
Okay, thanks, Brad. I guess we're at roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes,
Mrs. McDermott?
Yes,
And Mr. Crone?
Yes.
Okay, looking for a motion to introduce ordinance number 108, 2020, which is the 2020 salary orders for Township. And then we'll make the motion to introduce it.
I'll make a motion to introduce it.
I'll second it. Anybody have any questions, comments, or discussions on this?
Do we need to explain this to the public?
No, I don't. That's why I was thinking maybe we should. With these Zoom meetings, I think you got to go overboard with it.
Who wants to give it a crack?
I gotta see when Karen to give it a shot.
So all salaries for municipal employees have to be on a salary ordinance. So typically you list the different positions and then different ranges, so that if you were to hire somebody, you have to hire them within that range. So on the salary ordinance, you'll see a lot of different positions. And you're not going to necessarily see names, but you'll see just those positions. And people within the township who work for the township can only earn what's within that range, if that makes sense. So every year, you usually take a close look at your salary ordinance and make sure that all your employees and their potential raises are covered within the limits of the salary ordinance. So now that the budget's adopted, you might see a salary resolution at the next meeting, which all of those salaries will need to fall within the salary ordinance's ranges. So I don't know if that was a good explanation or not.
So the ordinance sets the positions and the ranges.
Yep.
Next month, we will have a resolution which will list names who are in those positions. The position is actually currently being filled, and with the actual salary for the 2020 year. So
Yep.
No, just like I'm asking if you're done.
Okay, thanks, Karen.
Mhm.
Are we at roll call, Elise? Because we had the,
Yeah, it's just an introduction, so if there's no more discussion. Mayor Barsney?
yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
yes,
Ms. McDermott?
yes,
And Mr. Crone?
yes.
The Board of Ed Shared Service Agreement, Brad, you're just asking for approval of that, I guess, right?
Yeah, I actually didn't ask to put it on there, but I guess it's just the timing. I guess, Lisa, you put it on there, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, she sent it to me and I actually assumed that you had already reviewed it, so.
Well, I think it's the same contract as last year, so I did review it. You know, I read through it. It's the same contract we had in place last year. You know, we provide lawn cutting, salting, pothole filling when needed. In return, those are the main type of work. And then in return, the school provides the usage of the facilities for recreation, as well as the custodial staff, and any costs they incur are borne by them. And in exchange, we pay for lawn maintenance and those things I mentioned earlier. So it's the same contract. I don't know if there's any questions or issues. I guess the only thing I'll pose out there to Joe is I haven't heard any noise, and hopefully you haven't either, as far as the quality, I'll say, of the lawn cutting at the school. I know when I drive by, it's been looking pretty tip top, but I'm only looking at the front. But also, being that nobody's at the school, I can't imagine there's too many people complaining anyway. So I think, I don't know if there's any issues or concerns that we need to address. So
Okay.
I would just say we, you know, unless there's something anyone feels we need to add to it or subtract from it, I would propose to authorize as currently written.
I'll second that. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
No.
Okay, roll call, Lisa.
Mayor Barsney? Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
The solicitor print application, we're just looking to approve that. Did everybody get a chance to look at it? Does anybody have any questions or concerns over it? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to approve that permit. Is this similar to what we've been using, Lisa?
So as far as I can tell, we've never actually had a permit application. So I'm just trying to create it based on the outline in the municipal code and also with input from Chief Hummer.
Rich used to fill out something similar, so I believe the police department did, didn't they? Rich, Rich I think is having trouble talking, but I don't think it's that important thing. So anyway, I guess.
He did add
I'm
a few
looking
things, so I think he's happy with it.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve that application form. So anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Anybody have any questions, comments, or discussions on it?
Lisa, you just said that Rich had some things you wanted added. So is the copy that we have include those additions?
Correct, yeah. Essentially, you know, I used the code as our basis for this, but then we added additional items in here. For example, he wanted social security numbers, things like that. And
So there's no additional items that anyone's requesting to add on this that's not already.
No, this is the final copy. We started working on this several months ago. This is the final copy.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Roll call?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
Mr. Peron?
Yes.
Frank, Thomas Stewart Park Memorials Discussion and Dogs. That you, right?
No, it's not me. I didn't put that on.
So the memorial discussion was actually that email that came into me that I had shared with you guys, just someone wondering if they could purchase a memorial bench for someone. So discussion, you know, was limiting that.
Is this something you want to bring up in an open space and come up with a recommendation, or you want to handle it here?
I think it's better handled here, actually.
What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are we shouldn't have personal memorials. It sets a precedent, and who do you tell no to? And we're gonna have memorials all over the park. Now, I appreciate that they enjoy and love the park, but I don't think we should be going down that road.
Anybody else?
Just so for the public's benefit who's listening, you know, we received an email from a resident requesting to park bench in memory of someone who recently passed away, and that person who passed away enjoyed the park tremendously, and they wanted to do this in their memory, which I think is, it's a very nice gesture. But I think once you start establishing, or if you establish an allowance to have memorials there, you have to start, there has to be rules to it, and you have to start putting limitations on it. What do you accept as a memorial? Is it just open-ended, which it won't be? Do you allow statues? Do you allow benches? What kind of bench? What are the materials? Like, it gets really monotonous, because there's a lot of thought that went into it, not to dismiss anything here, but whatever you add into there from a memorial perspective has to be, it has to blend in with the park. So right off the bat, we're going to have to limit what you would allow, the size of it, the materials, and all these things. And it's going to become, I think it has the potential of becoming something that could be overwhelming. So I'm kind of in line with Frank. As much as I'm not objecting to the thought of having memorials, it's just, we need to give it thought before we could allow it. So for this one request, I'm saying,
first thing about with Brad is, if you came up, I don't know how many trees or something you need. If you specified that only memorial that would have to be a tree of a certain size and stuff like that. I don't know if we need many more trees there or not. I don't know if we ever have too many trees in the park, but that was the only thing I was thinking. If you came up with one thing, is you could tell people the only memorial we allow is the purchase of a tree in somebody's memory, but it would have to be this type of tree or something like that. That's the only thought I came up with.
Well, and Bob, I'm kind of on board with that same thought process. And I know that there's lots of discussion that would be it, but the park could certainly use more trees. And just by having a list of trees, you could end up creating an arboretum type thing over 20 years also, by having a different variety. So you would have a specific list and keeping off, but the only restriction I would be, though, is yes, you can put a tree in, but there can't be any signage attached to it. That would be my.
That's where I would be.
But like I said, I know there's some legalities there.
Yeah. Well, how about we do this, Frank? I hate to do that. Let's kick it back to OS. Why don't you just talk about it there?
Yeah, we can do that.
The next meeting we can talk about it, okay?
Yep, sounds good.
Dogs. Anybody want to discuss dogs in the park?
Maybe you do, Bob.
I didn't hear what you said.
Frank told me I should bring it up. I just have been out the park a lot, and I just noticed there's an awful lot of dogs. I mean, there's more dogs than there are people, and I see quite a bit of animal waste there. I literally took a picture. I sent it to Brad a couple of weeks ago. A dog went to the bathroom, literally, and I'm talking literally, at the post of where the waste bags are and the receptacle. They didn't even pick it up. I mean,
oh, jeez.
I mean, literally at the post. And I see quite a bit of it up there, and a lot of it's larger dogs too, you can tell. But I just think, and then I see people let their dogs go onto the soccer field, in the fields. And I just sit there and think, if you had a kid, would you really want your kid playing ball, rolling the ball across a field that has dog waste on it, and then putting their fingers in their mouth? And even if you have a little kid walking with you along the walkway, the kid run ahead of you a little bit and steps in it, picks it up, does something with it. And I really think the attraction to that park is there's so many dogs. I know other towns like Levy don't allow any dogs. I really think it's become known as a dog-friendly park, and there's people coming from other townships to walk their dogs there. Doesn't really bother me one way or the other, but if I was younger and my kids were younger and playing there, it probably would really bother me. That's the only reason I ever brought it up. But there's people there sometimes with 2 and 3 dogs. Like I said, one day I counted there were 14 dogs and 10 people.
I'm in agreement with you, Bob. I've started walking there now because my neighborhood is getting so busy with cars and tractor trailers that I'm going to the park. And the dogs are coming right up to you on the trail, and they're not even pulling them back. So you're hesitant to continue walking. And you're right, they're going to the bathroom all over the place. Is it a dog park or a people park?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be for us to enjoy it and walk it, and there's too much waste, like you said. And then sometimes when I walk in the grass, I have to be careful I'm not stepping in it to avoid a person or a dog that's on the track.
So, that's all. I just wanted to bring it up. Like I said,
It's great.
I mean, I'm an adult. I know enough to walk around, and I just see it, and I think, boy, if I was walking with a 2-year-old that was running a little bit ahead or whatever, and there's quite, and again, it's like anything else. It's probably 99% of the people are abiding by it, but the 1% is a pretty big percentage. There's quite a bit there pretty often too. So.
Well, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Brad had asked me to look at something about some red thread on the lawn, and so I walked the whole path for the first time ever. And as I was communicating with Brad at the end of my walk, I said I stopped counting at 12 piles, and I hadn't been a third of the way through.
Wow.
So with that being said, maybe there's, without trying to make it too noticeable of a noticeable, maybe we can post it that says that, you've got to clean up after your dog, or and I don't know how to word it, or the potential for banning dogs is possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you get the word out, but, if they don't curb their dogs and clean up.
Yeah.
I mean, the rule sign has, Joe wants to be unmuted. The rule sign has
What was the number again? There's 2 phone numbers.
7782.
Okay.
The rule sign has,
Joe's unmuted.
it says up there, right? You've got to pick up your waste, and your dog has to be on a leash. The thing is,
Yeah, there's an ordinance, and we didn't get the signs yet, but there's a fine. And the other thing is maybe we make the park a leash law. We have a leash law, I believe, on the books, and I've seen people without their dogs on leashes out there.
I thought it already
They
said
bring their
that.
dogs, but keep them on their leash.
it's on
Yeah.
it's
It's
on the
already
rule sign. The leash is on the rule sign. So when you
They're leaving them off their leashes.
yeah, the problem is part
Yeah.
of it is when people come in, they park, and then they start to the walk path. And where the rule sign is placed, which is over by the playground, they're not seeing it. So I guess, not that ignorance is an excuse, but they're not seeing the fact. So I think the one thing is, like, up front, like on the circle is, we may need a sign say all dogs on leash must pick up waste, or a fine. Now, getting the word out, Bob, like you were saying, like we had Rich put out on the police Facebook page. We can do it again. We can start threatening that we're going to close it to dogs. I mean, there's a lot of different things we can consider. I'm not saying we need to do this tonight, but we can also change the rules so that dogs are only allowed on 1 or 2 days. So you can make it no dogs allowed except for Monday, Wednesday. So you can limit the days they're there, and you can enforce it really easy. Because if dogs aren't allowed there Tuesday, and there's a dog there, then you kick them off. So there's a lot of ways to approach this to limit it.
We'll kick this back to the OS too and come back with a recommendation to us.
We actually brought it up to the OS already, Bob.
Okay.
So the recommendation was to take the first step of putting in more signs along the path and more stations so they can grab the disposal bags. That was the first step.
The picture I sent Brad, that's why I put under it. I don't think more stations is going to help when the dog lives.
You're probably right. You're probably right. That was the recommendation, though.
I can't believe that an adult needs a sign to tell them to clean up their dog waste.
That could have been a fox, though, Bob, or a coyote.
I've actually seen some of them go. One day I was walking, there were 2 women walking, and the dog was off the leash. The dog strolled off, went to the bathroom, then caught up to him. And the woman, the owner, she had no idea to go to the bathroom, didn't even go back and clean it up. But yeah, hey, I just brought it up because I just.
Well, we should make a decision. I mean, are we going to put up more signs, and who's going to handle that?
we looking for authorization for more signs? Make a motion, and then we're doing. I think we talked about it enough. That's what it sounds like everybody wants to do. So you
Brad,
want
do you want to work with Joe on where to place the additional signs
Yeah, we can work. I mean, I think what we're talking about is
and stations, right?
like a few signs around the path perimeters so that people are aware about the leashes and picking up of the waste. As far as the those dog waste containers, I don't recall how much they were, but I know they're not cheap.
Right.
Joe, I don't know if you remember, but I think we need probably 1, 2 additional. When you're entering the park on the left side, far out perimeter, that whole area is empty. There's no receptacles there. You know, is it gonna really make a difference? I don't know. You know, I think if we, you know, if it doesn't stop, I think we have to consider temporary ban on dogs, maybe to get the message out, or you limit it. You say only on these days are dogs allowed. And as much as that might be a pain in the butt for people, you know, it's an easier
What do you
one
want
to
to do,
manage.
Brad? Do you want to start with the sign? You know, you don't want to even
I don't
bother.
even know if you need an authorization. You can't just buy the signs out of open space and put up the stations. I mean, I don't think we know after you.
Well, it's an expenditure, so probably want to make
It's
a
a
motion.
budget.
Right?
We just put it in and put it in next month's bill list. But if you're looking for authorization, let's make a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion to have Brad work with Joe to put up additional signs and waste stations.
You want like a not to exceed cost here?
Now,
So I'm going to put up a big giant neon flashing sign.
I tried to.
Wrap up. No limits.
Brad,
That would even
Brad,
help.
real
You heard
quick,
it. We have no limits.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
we do have an additional pet waste station in the storage building down there.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah, it just, I just didn't get it located yet, so maybe we'll use it to the left side parking lot there, and then maybe get one more. And I can get samples for the pet waste picking up and stuff. We've got them signs before out in the municipal park.
Yeah, you know, we'll give that a try and see if it slows down, and if it doesn't, then we'll readdress it, I guess, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, there's the motion. I had the motion out there.
Nobody
There's
ever
a second?
seconded it. Nobody ever seconded it, right?
No.
So it's dead, right, Rich Leonard?
Yeah, you have a motion, but no second. So you need a second, otherwise it just sits there.
Yeah, so it's sitting there. We'll move on, right?
Correct.
All right, well, then he's not going to do the signs, I guess. All right.
He said he has signs too. Jim said
Well,
he
the
has
motion
signs.
was for him to put up the signs, so that was the motion.
Oh,
I
to
mean-
put them up? No,
Yeah.
I'll second the motion. Any other further comment, question?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. ATV use on township property.
Yeah, so a while back, 1 or 2 ATVs have been utilizing the township open space, especially in Wyndham Farm, but I'm hearing now that's happening in other areas. That has now escalated from 1 or 2 to 6, I believe, or close to 6, 5 or 6 the other day, and I've been getting a lot of complaints, and I've been seeing it myself. So not only is it a nuisance, it's a liability issue for the township. I'm just looking for authorization for myself to work with Joe to get like 4 signs that states that use of recreational vehicles on township property is prohibited. So probably about
Okay.
4 signs I think we would need, and I can work with Joe on where to put them up.
That
So
is
I'm gonna
the-
make that motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Frank, anybody else have any further comment or discussion?
Just one thing. So I don't know, does it need to be specific? Because should anybody be on that land at all for any reason? I mean, should it just be no trespassing township property?
Nah, it's gotta be specific, otherwise it's not gonna solve the problem.
But I mean, do we want people riding their bicycles? So if you say no ATVs, then we're going to get the guy who rides his dirt bike there. It's not an ATV.
There hasn't been, but you know what, there was an issue with that, I would say, yeah, but there's no issue with people riding bicycles in there. I mean,
I guess my point is, like, I know ATVs are the issue today. What's going to be the issue next week Is it just broader to say
Motorized vehicles.
no motorized, no,
All right, well,
you know?
motorized vehicle's fine with me, if you want to go with that
Me
route. That's
Yeah, I just think you got to make it broad so that, if you just say ATV, then they're going to like, all right, I'm going to get my dirt bike then. Or I'm going to go get my go-kart.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, motorized vehicles is fine with me. I mean, Richard, if we have an ordinance, maybe we could attach the ordinance number to it too. I don't know. Maybe
There's
if I can, I'll work with Richard to see if we can do that too.
Yeah, because you're probably going to have to attach a penalty someplace to it. I don't know that there's an actual ordinance that's already preventing that. So, there's something so that if you go to enforce it, it's got a little teeth. So you probably will have to make an ordinance. Right, Rich?
Well,
Are you talking to Rich Weiner or Rich Hummer?
yeah, Rich Weiner.
Yes. Rich 1 or Rich 2. Yes, that is correct. You have to have an ordinance in place
All right,
which is easier to enforce it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked that we don't have something in place already. That means they could be dealing it at a time.
Okay, so for next month, Rich,
I'm
when
sure
or somebody's got to come back.
Oh, no, we
with
have the ordinance for that.
what applies or a new ordinance that we'll have to adopt that will apply.
All right,
Okay.
Will do.
that's great.
Will do.
That's great. All right, so why don't we wait and we'll let the motion die, I guess, and then I think you seconded it though, right, Bob? I guess you're gonna need a vote.
You can
All
withdraw.
All in favor, no?
Withdraw? No, we can withdraw. So I withdraw the motion.
Okay.
All right. All right, I'll work with Richard. I'll try to get, I'll look at the ordinance and we'll talk about it next month.
Okay, the dog license notice, Brad, what do you want? Just an authorization to include them with the tax bills when they go out?
Well, yeah, I think that was what we were talking about, but I think Karen pointed out that if some folks have already paid a late fee on their dog license, we can't waive it for future late fees, right? Is that what you're saying, Karen, basically?
Well, because I believe that probably the dog licenses were due end of January. Yeah, so you have a lot of people who've been paying late fees since.
Yeah, so, the idea here was that we have to do this estimated tax bill. This was like, let's take advantage of it and get the dog application out in there, because clearly not everyone who has a dog application or a license here in town. So we're just trying to get it out to make it a little bit more known. That was the thought.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything on that?
Well, we can still include the notice. We just can't offer amnesty for the late fee penalties, so.
I don't, do you want to do a motion that we include the notice, Brad, or are you okay with just putting it in?
So there was two thoughts, right? We had, if we do it for 2020, but then you were saying if we wait to put it in the, when we get the final bill out, we could put the 21 in. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, you could take advantage of this tax billing and maybe have like a letter from the mayor or the township committee, something like that. And then you could do the next one. You could do, you could put the application in because it gets closer to the year. Because those, you're going to send the tax bills out, I believe, by September 30th. So people will start thinking about sending in their dog licenses at that point. So you'll send a reminder of what's due January.
Yeah.
That becomes problematic too, though, because with our system, you can't actually accept those applications or payments until the 2020 is closed out. So September is probably too early for next year. If we do this now, we might have some people that, you know, realize that they didn't register and will register for 20, but.
I mean, if it's not too much trouble, I'd just say throw it in there. And, you know, if people want to, you know, if they're going to pay the late fee, they pay the late fee. But I do love the idea that there should be a letter from the mayor, because he could start off and just say there's too much dog crap in the park.
Include my picture? Include that picture from the park with it?
Yeah, and you can put a picture of it in there and say.
Okay. So is there any motion out of this discussion or not?
Well, no, I think the motion is to, I guess, put the dog application into the estimated tax billing.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Max band auction approval of proposed contracts.
That's actually, I think, taken care of, but Rich might be able to speak to that.
I thought I signed those. Okay, so that's good. Okay. Just- Okay, can I have some?
Second the motion?
Which motion?
Brad made a motion, you just seconded it? That's what I
No, we already did
thought I
that.
saw.
Well, we voted on that too.
All right,
Okay.
you know what? I'm having a problem with my connection, sorry.
Okay. The only thing I want to make note of is the Historical Commission sent us a thank you letter for our help with the banners that are up on the poles around town for the people who served in the armed services. And I lost that letter, but the back of it had several companies that donated time and money for the purchase.
I got it right here, Bob.
Can somebody read the back just so we can make note of who helps and who donates?
Stewartsville Presbyterian Church, $800 for 5 banners. Mexi Bishop Legion Post, $320 for 2 banners. Stewartsville Grange, number 121, $250 for 1 banner plus hardware. Hamlin Tree Farm, $160 for 1 banner. And Montana Construction, $160 for 1 banner. 100 color flyers, double-sided by PSI Printing in Broadway. ShopRite of Greenwich for doing in-store promotions and offered the use of their light poles for putting up some of the signage, which Toll Brothers, as a property owner, also coordinated with the Home Depot to allow that too. And then Nelson Tree Service, and this is a biggie also, provided 2 bucket trucks and a crew of 4, plus a supervisor to hang all 53 banners, which took a total of 10 to 11 hours over 2 days at no cost.
Thanks, Paul. I just want to give them recognition, and I really appreciate the letter from Colonel Sikra thanking us, but I really think we really owe to thank you. They don't owe us anything. I think we need to thank the Legion and Colonel Sikra and everyone else who was involved and all those people who helped. We owe them a thank you more than they owe us a thank you. So I just wanted to note that. So, anybody need any discussion over the engineer's office letter regarding the 5-year road and drainage memo that we received? Anybody have any questions or comments on that?
No.
Anything on the state tax court and the Warren County Tax Board? Lisa, what's the 2020 league conference?
Oh, I was just including that for you guys.
Was it canceled or what?
Not as of yet.
Oh, okay. Okay, finally, for the gentleman who's been waiting, I make a motion. We open the floor for public comment. Anybody want to say?
Hey, Bob.
I'll second.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, Mike.
Okay, do you want me to, I got a couple things I think I need to relay to everybody. So you want me to do it after public comment if you opened it up?
No, I didn't open yet, so go ahead. You got 7 minutes.
I will try to make it less than 3.
All right.
Because a couple good news items. Number one, for anybody who hasn't been up around the Pace Center development area and the water main area, there's been a lot of activity up there getting ready for paving. They've been milling this week. They're scheduled to be done with that this week, and paving will be next week. So we're getting a lot of roads paved next week, scheduled to pretty much take the whole week. Now, the better part of that news, and I did have a chance, is Karen still on?
No, she had a drop.
Okay, I spoke with her earlier today. We've been coordinating with the contractors quite extensively, and through little arm twisting and negotiations and so forth, I got them to agree to be responsible for a considerable more extent of paving of the roads than the original approval. It used to be 50-50, if you remember.
Yeah.
Well, it's now down about 75-25. 75 of their responsibility, 25 of ours. But the good part of that is, of course, the savings. That saves us probably close to $150,000.
Nice.
So that's a home run, I think, for the township. That's good stuff.
It's good.
And doesn't change the quality or the integrity of any of the work. So that's, again, by the end of next week, all those roads should be paved. Okay.
Oh, God.
Lisa, any questions? Well, before I move,
I was giving you a thumbs up, Mike.
Yeah.
All right.
well, I gave myself the thumbs up, to be
I
honest.
just
Thank
gave
you.
you a thumbs up, so.
Thank you. Okay, and Lisa, and I have the agenda, but not the actual resolutions. One of the resolutions tonight was to authorize the O&M contract to go out to be rebid again, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so we'll coordinate with you guys on that. Hopefully we'll be ready for the bid opening next month or an award next month. Lisa, also on the resolutions for the two DOT, the 2021 grants, I'm gonna need 3 signed, certified resolutions. Thank you. And that, did I do that under 3 minutes? I think we're good.
I gotta ask you one question.
Surely.
Have you heard any feedback from the state at all about the dioxin that's in the residence wells up behind Pacesetters?
None.
Primarily the Haggertys, but
No.
sure
I heard there was an email, Paul, I think, and we had talked about it, but that's a month and a half ago. Nothing since, no.
All right, okay.
Thanks. Okay, I'll make a motion with public comment. Anybody want a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mike?
All right. I just found the unmute all button. I'm gonna try. All right, it says all participants are unmuted, but they don't show being unmuted, so I don't know.
They have to
Maybe try
unmute themselves.
You got frustrated waiting.
All right, public comment, any item.
Paul,
Mayor,
did
I
you have
got one thing.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I have one thing. I just want to,
No, hold on, the resident's on. Go ahead. The resident who's been waiting.
yes. Kim and Jeff Leon from 1511 Megan Circle in Greenwich Chase. We had a noise issue that we reached out to Paul Beamon. And I don't know if he wants to add any additional commentary because we're not usually attendees in this meeting, so we don't know how they work. But there is not a really strict, firm noise ordinance in town that's causing an issue with us and our neighbors. And we were hoping that maybe, I don't know, you guys could have some insight on what we should do about that. We have a music problem on our street that affects multiple people, and we really don't know how we should best proceed.
We must have a,
Paul's pretty familiar with this. Paul,
Yeah,
do you have?
Brad, it's rather weak, but the biggest problem is, particularly in trying to use the state noise ordinance to help us, there's a couple of things that we need to kind of figure out. I've already spoke to Mike. We as a town and our engineer, we don't have a device that measures decibels. And that's how the state kind of measures the sound as to how far off the perimeter, if it's too loud, it's unhealthy, or this and that. I had suggested to these folks, because the county actually, to the best of my knowledge, has a metering device and might be willing to come out here and do that. So our big conversation is that we need to review the ordinances. In this particular situation, and I've already spoke to Larry on it, if you put a swimming pool in your yard, you are subjected to a tougher noise ordinance, which says that you can't have any noise permeating the property. I don't know where to go with that either, because that is certainly a challenge.
Well, that's certainly occurring. So,
at this stage of the game, we don't have a real clear answer. It's going to take some work on our side to kind of figure out what's going on. I know the HOA's ordinances or rules are very weak. It appears that our rule, according to Chief Hummer, and I'd have to agree with him, is
You're
pretty.
breaking up.
The pool ordinance is somewhat of a help here, but as the zoning officer explained to me, he sits there, if somebody's diving off the diving board, that's going to emanate, past the bounds. So I don't know that it can be all inclusive of any noise outside of the property. This is a really challenging thing, and we've all got to get together and try to kind of come up with something. And I don't think over Zoom and this is probably the best venue right now to do this. The best I can tell you right now is we've been made aware of it. We're going to communicate and try to come up with a plan to help you out. But at this stage of the game, your best bet is still to have the police document when it's loud, and hopefully maybe the county will come out and meter it for us while we're trying to figure out what we are going to do as the town.
So I should be calling the police every single time then, because that'll be every day.
Unfortunately, use their non-emergency number, and yes, I think it's going to be eventually, if this comes to court, that documentation is going to be super important, and the officer's testimony. I know you think it's probably a hassle, and the chief might be able to weigh in here, but it's probably part of the step.
Because I do see the ordinance that says no loudspeaker or amplifying device shall be permitted, which will project sound beyond the bounds of the property where the pool is located. So that to me sounds like music, not jumping off the diving board or anything like that.
I somewhat agree, but there's lots of things, because you gotta, if a judge is gonna see this, there's gotta be a lot of T's crossed and I's dotted. And we're just not sure we have that yet. I have yet to have the opportunity to talk to the town attorney on the subject. So we're in the early stages of communication. I think that's the best I can offer you right now.
Can we have Richard weigh in on this, though? I'd like to hear the attorney's opinion.
Disconnected, Frank. He's in a-
Huh?
Can I ask a question? So is the noise, is it during the day or is it at evening hours?
14 hours a day. It's from 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. most nights, 7 days a week. Where I can hear it in my house with my windows closed or open all the time. And I have young children.
Yeah, that's annoying.
And it's just nonstop. And I'm pregnant with twins, so I'm a little concerned. But I know there's some other people, some of my neighbors on here that can vouch for this, and it's a problem for all of us.
Has the homeowners association?
Hold on. Rich Wenner is locked out. He's in the waiting room. Can you let him
No,
in?
I'm in now, man.
He's here. He's in.
The homeowners association basically last summer told me this is a police matter. And when I speak to the police, they say they can't do anything about it because of there's no strict noise ordinance.
So as far as this person knows, the person, whoever it is that's creating the noise, they don't even know that people are upset. No one's approached them. There's nobody.
Well, they know. No, they know.
Okay.
Multiple people have approached them. Police have gone. They don't do anything. They don't care because they can't be touched. Oh, I think we're frozen.
No, you're on.
No, you're good.
Yeah, is our attorney on? Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
All right. So did you hear some of this?
Yeah, yes.
But can I just break in one second? Chief Hummer just sent me the ordinance if you want me to read it. It's not long. It says ordinance 9-2-66. No person shall permit, make, or continue or cause to be permitted, made or continued any unnecessary noise at any unreasonable hour, which shall disturb the comfort, rest, and response of any person or persons being in his place of abode. Unreasonable to one could be different from you to me. I don't know. So I guess what Rich is trying to say is it's the unreasonable. It's kind of ambiguous, or it's not that it's ambiguous, but it's not definitive enough. So we may need to strengthen that ordinance as what Paul was talking about.
But it's also, even if it's 8 p.m. That's the cutoff. It's still very frustrating to hear in your house from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Or, you know what I mean? Like, even if he turns it off at 8, it's still.
No, I feel for you. And nobody would want that happening. So, Rich, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so yeah, you read the keyword unreasonable. You also see loud, you'll see obnoxious. Those are all subjective terms. And so what the chief was pointing out, I believe in his comment at the end of the ordinance that you read, Frank, was that what you need to have an enforceable noise ordinance to get before the court, you'll see now are the decibel levels that are promulgated by the state. And you have minimum or maximum decibel levels that are permitted, and you need to have a certified, I'll say noise technician, for lack of a better term, who can go out and register, and just like you do with a radar gun and you certify the radar guns for the speed, same thing with the noise. You take the reading, you document it, and then you have actual proof that the noise that's being emitted is in excess of the noise levels permitted. So those are, it's not unusual at all to see an ordinance like you just read, because that's how it used to be done. But things are a little more technical these days. And I don't know if Mike Finelli's still on, but he can certainly weigh in because this goes into the engineering.
One question on that. So Richie's saying, Chief Hummer's saying that we need a decibel meter and we have to set hours. So here's my question. I mean, we could set hours for a lower decibel range, but we should have a standard no matter what hour it is.
Right.
That's
how I.
The thing,
The state of New Jersey does have a set of standards that we can use.
Correct.
So that's what I would think. We would want a standard for no matter what time it is. I don't think we should set hours if we don't have to.
The thing you have to be
But you can
careful
tell me.
though is that, just to interject for a second, is construction. You know,
What?
What'd you say,
machinery,
Brad?
you know, there's all kinds of things that are going to create noise during working hours that you have to have exclusions for. So you can't just set it.
I think the problem is continuous noise. Like if you have a loud lawnmower and it's going to be on for an hour once a week. I don't know. I know it's a hard thing to regulate.
Tough, because even if you pass it with decibels, or like even the way it is now, passing the property line, you're sitting on your deck playing a Bluetooth speaker. Odds are, especially in Greenwich Chase, the neighbor's going to be able to hear that. People can start calling one another over everything. So it's a very tough and delicate balance you got to walk on there. So I think we got to heed to Wenner and the state decibel levels and come up with an answer, because you could be creating a double-edged sword here. Everybody who plays a radio on their deck, if neighbor doesn't like them, is going to call and say, "You're standing here, you can hear the music, can't you? I want them cited." So that's where the double-edged sword's going to come in.
I have a little experience with this, not directly personally, but this is a pretty tricky matter to deal with. And whether we could get a decibel meter, the bottom line is nobody's licensed, certified to use it. We're not acoustical engineers. We're not noise experts. I mean, that's a start. It's what I said to Paul when Paul and I spoke about this the other day is that if this is really that problematic, I could recommend some noise experts to the affected homeowners for them to call to at least maybe they can talk with them and maybe get a little more educated on how the system works, how the ordinances are employed. And if they want to pull together and hire somebody, then they could do that. The town's going to be in a tough spot to try to police this ourselves. As Bob was trying to, say the same thing a minute ago. It's a rough slope to deal with.
Rich Wenner, do you want to say something? I saw your name pop up.
No, I spoke my piece.
Oh, okay.
So Rich, Rich Wenner, are we saying, is there an ordinance that we could pull together that you think would help in this situation?
Absolutely. It's just the devil's in the details, as Mike just pointed out, because not only do you have to have the decibel levels, and that's easy enough. That's just you go by what the state has, but you need to have someone who is certified to take those readings in order for it to be enforceable against the property owner who is in violation of the ordinance. But I mean, certainly, I mean, that's not a heavy lift putting the ordinance together. The execution and enforcement of that ordinance is going to have some costs associated with it.
I mean, I know personally, if I was in that situation, it can ruin your quality of life. So
Absolutely.
I would be for putting an ordinance together to try to resolve it.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I agree, but it's a touchy one.
It's touchy, I know.
I do have a ton of videos too, like inside my house with my window, like that you can hear clearly. Like you could sing karaoke to this music inside my house.
Well, one thing for sure, if we had the ordinance written the way we're talking, if homeowners were that upset and were inclined to, or at least give them a statute that they could hire somebody on their own to go and sign complaint. Right now, we don't even have an ordinance that they can use if they want to do it on their own. That makes sense, Wenner?
No, it does. It does. And listen, I mean, if you're bringing a citizen's complaint, and I'm not suggesting that you do that, but if you're to bring a citizen's complaint and you have enough evidence and you have the right judge, and they might be willing to run with the ordinance that's on the books. But
this circumstance, if we had the ordinance, we could hire somebody for the township to do it, I guess, for the desk.
Yes. Or train one of the police officers.
When the police go, they're not going to be able to measure decibels. That's where the enforcement issue comes.
Correct.
I got a comment from Richard Hummer. He said incurred expense to certify an officer and calibrate the unit and buy the unit. He just wants to know that would be an additional cost. That he has no problem doing it, but he wants everybody to know there'll be additional costs.
Well, I guess where we go is we have Wenner Lavery's office come up with an ordinance and Hummer a price out, equipment and training, and we try to deal with it. Sound good to everybody?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Be a start.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as of right
homeowner happy at least with that answer?
So as of right now, then the ordinance about the pool and no loudspeakers or amplifying device, that can help us all in the meantime?
Well, again, we haven't really got a chance to talk to the attorney about that, which is, again, something that I was going to bring up, but this venue here isn't going to do it. I was going to talk with Attorney Lavery at a later date, just to see what can be done there. But again, I think it's going to lack a little teeth, but we're working on it, though. But I don't think that's the answer right this second.
Okay, well, we appreciate you getting the ball rolling on this and helping us out.
Okay, well, good luck.
One second, I think Owen wants to say something. Owen, I'm trying to unmute Owen, but it's not letting me, but he sent me a message. The police department and HOA are fully aware of this. This is from Owen. I don't know Owen's last name. Owen,
Okay.
Can you send me your last name and your address?
I believe that's our neighbor, Vanessa.
Okay. 1501 Megan, Vanessa Owen. That's the person sending me this message. The police department and HOA are fully aware of this multi-year problem. This is time sensitive, affecting the health of a pregnant resident. We are in a pandemic, having to stay home. This is bothering everyone here. Many times police will not even come because they know their hands are tied. We can use part of the 150,000 that was just, I don't know the words, boasted is the word. I know it's a typo, but to be saved for a town, boasted. Oh, the 150,000 that was boasted to be saved for the town to use it. Yeah, I don't think the cost is an issue, Vanessa. So we're gonna look into the ordinance. I think everybody's in agreement here. Is that right, Bob?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else on there, Frank? Probably comment?
I guess the only thing I would ask is there a way that we can be updated and, I guess, see like the progress of this? Can we be informed?
Yeah, I'll communicate with you as the process runs. You're on my email list now, so it won't be a problem.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, Bob, if I can just add, can we and it's really for Rich, can we try to get this in a form that we can vote on for next month?
Sure.
I don't want to have this as an ongoing discussion.
Yep.
Let's try to, particularly because, what Frank just read, and it really didn't hit me until he read it, but it's a duh statement. I mean, during this pandemic and you're stuck at home, it's twice that. So
Yeah.
we can't
Not a problem.
Yeah, let's try to get this written in some form for next month.
And Rich Hummer, get the pricing and everything for us by next month.
Yeah, I'm gonna send Richard and Mike Lavery an email, both asking them to what we discussed. Right.
And Lisa, send an email to Karen and let her know we're looking for money.
Uh,
I can't imagine the decibel meters that much, but
I don't know. I don't know how much.
I think it's the training and the certification, but we'll see. Whatever it is, we'll have to.
Okay. Anybody else waiting to get on, Frank, that you see?
Let me check if there's any more chats or anything. Hold on. One second, guys. I'm trying to get to these chats here. These people are having trouble speaking. All right. The chief sent me another ordinance. Bob, you tell me if you want me to read it. It's about the use of loudspeaker.
I think we're just chasing our tail and keep reading ordinances.
All right. Okay. So he sent me an ordinance about.
I mean, if he's aware of it and he thought he could enforce it, I assume it would have been enforced.
You said the sound amplifier statutes don't cover private property, but we're going to look into all that.
Yeah, we'll look into that, so. Okay.
All right. I think that's it. I think we got everything.
Maybe we'll make a motion to close public comment.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bob, I have one more item before we close the meeting.
Mhm.
So when Jonathan presented his Eagle Scout project, one of the things he wanted to ask the committee is if there's consideration for some kind of donation towards it. So when the Eagle project that was put in there for the covered bike rack, we as the town authorized and we funded it through the open space funds to purchase two things. One was the actual bike rack and cement that was the floor, and the Eagle Scout did all the work. So we set a little bit of a precedent in the sense that we've used some of the open space funds for the benefit of the park, which I think is a good thing. So what I wanted to put up for consideration was to help fund this so that it'll expedite the.
Just make the motion in the amount. Just go right to it.
Well, what Jonathan had said that he needs about $2,200, and I think what we spent on Spencer's project was around $1,000. So what I'd like to do is authorize the purchase of materials, because I don't think we can donate. And Rich Wenner, correct me if I'm wrong, we can't donate to a nonprofit. Is that correct?
And as a general rule, yes, there are certain enumerated exceptions to the general prohibition of donation of public funds to private entities, but Eagle Scouts is not one of them.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion as to utilize $1,000 of open space funds for the purchase of lumber as indicated from John Murdoch and the Eagle Scout project towards his building of the picnic tables. I don't know what lumber it will be or what exactly he needs, but whatever we can help and purchase that would not exceed $1,000.
I'll second that because that's a steal compared to what we would have had to pay if we bought our own table. So I'll second that. Anybody have any comments or questions on it? Roll call, Lisa?
Mayor Barsney?
Yes.
Mr. Beam?
Yes.
Mr. Marqueta?
Yes.
Ms. McDermott?
Yes.
And Mr. Peron?
Yes.
And before we go, I just want to make one note. I don't remember them. I thought I'd been in Greenwich a long time, but apparently in the 1960s, we had a mayor by the name of Carl Foster.
Oh,
He was
yeah,
100
Carl. Yeah.
I don't remember, but you were here longer than me. But he passed away. I guess he was 100 years old. A couple months ago, they did a big parade for him, I think, down in Galloway Township. It was his 100th birthday. He was a veteran, so they did like a parade and everything past him. But he passed away in the last week. And he's going to be buried here in Greenwich on Monday. Joe Mexi got some of the information. Joe got information from a neighbor. So there was no obituary. We had no address. I'd love to send something to the family on behalf of Mr. Foster, but I just want to recognize him for his past community service to the township and helping lead the way to where we are today, and give him some recognition on the limited information that we have. So just keep him in your thoughts and your prayers and his family for a few days, and I would certainly thank him for his service to the country as well. So
He also,
With that-
Bob, served on the Board of Adjustment for a long time. He was the
that
secretary.
was my understanding. He was on the Board of Adjustment for a long time too. So, but anyway, anybody have anything else? Looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Any second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a nice
Hey,
night,
Brad, you
everybody.
still there? Brad, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Could you have Jonathan